So I'm just going to create a new folder. So Shift Command N to make a new folder, and I'm going to call it Rick and Morty. I'm using Visual Studio Code, which is like NetBeans. Do new file. This is going to be my HTML, so I'm going to go File, Save As. Inside my CSS trials and Rick and Morty 1, and I'm going to call it Morty.html. I've made a new HTML thing. I haven't done anything inside it yet. And we have some code, like HTML, standard HTML code that we can copy from any of our old HTMLs. If I went File, Open, I could go to one of my older programs. Here's one of my older HTMLs, and I'm just really after this stuff, the HTML, the head and stuff like that, and source code and all of that stuff, body, and that's about it. I'm gonna copy that. I'm gonna go into my HTML, and I'm gonna paste that. I have a source code. I haven't made this file yet. And the type is text JavaScript, close the script. I have some CSS, which I haven't made yet. The title of the page is Rick and Morty. And then I'm gonna have a body. I'm gonna close the body tag, close the HTML tag. I've said that I have a file called Rick and Morty. I haven't made it yet. So let's make a new one. Let's save this. Let's make a new document. I'm going to save this as, and I was going to call it rickmorty.js. Save. It's going to make another document. Save that as, file, save as, .css. Inside my HTML that I made, Rick Morty HTML, it's lowercase r for the JavaScript and lowercase r for the CSS. I need to make a button. Inside the body tag, I'm gonna make a div for my button. I'm gonna give it an ID, button div. Inside that, I'm gonna make an image. This is gonna be the image of my button, so I'm gonna call it, ID is gonna be button image. And the source as RC. I'm gonna make a folder called images /pickle.png. I want to turn this into a button. Here's my image. Let's just go back into this folder. I'm going to make date modified Rick and Morty 1. I'm going to make something inside here called images. Open up another Finder window. Command N. I'm going to go to Rick and Morty, and I'm just going to go into my images. Open that images folder. There it is. Hold down the Option key and drag it, and it will copy it. I have my other pickle Rick. So one is the button and one is the picture. The pickle, I think, is just the button. I'm just going to open them up and have a look. And that's going to be the actual picture that I'm going to display. So let's go back to the HTML. We have a little button that's going to appear on the screen. That should work, sort of. It's not going to work terribly well, but I'm going to save that. And then back into my open up Rick and Morty 1, and I'm going to open up the HTML. So we should just see the picture. That's way too big. I want to shrink it down, and I want to make it into a button. To shrink it down, I'm going to use the CSS to do that. Back into my code. Let's go into the CSS. We have button div, and we have our button image. I'm missing the ID, the word ID. I'm just going to copy those two things. Go into my CSS and paste them. Hashtag button div. Brace bracket like that. This is a div. Let's deal with the image first. So hashtag button image. And we want to give that image a width and a height. Width. Let's make that 50 pixels wide. Let's save that. Go back into our Google Chrome. Refresh. Let's make it into a button now. So when I click on it, something happens. All right, right now nothing is happening. I'm gonna try putting the word button in front of my image. I'm gonna put an on-click. On-click equals pickle. When we press on it, it's gonna go to in our JavaScript, and it's gonna look for a function called pickle. All right, I'm gonna put my close my button after our image. Save that. Let's go to the Rick and Morty JavaScript, and I'm gonna write function pickle. And in the function, I'm just going to start off with something simple, console log. So it's just going to type to the output, to the console log. We know that it worked when we pressed on the button. Let's save that. Everything else is saved. Let's go back into Chrome, refresh. When I click on it, let's look in the JavaScript console. We are in pickle. It came up 3 times. If I click it again, we're in pickle. Click it again, it keeps doing it over and over again. It is working as a button. When I click on it, it does something. It changes slightly. So that button code did something for us. The next thing, I want an image to show up when I click on it. To do that, I'm just going to put the image in our HTML, make another div, its ID, I'm going to call it image div equals image div. Inside here, I'm going to put an image, ID is equal to pickle image. I'm going to give it a src is equal to images slash pickle.rick.png. It's just this big image that's going to sit there on the screen. We close off. The button tag has an open and has a close. Like we have an open to the button, that's a button tag, and then we have the close of the button tag. The divs are like that. They have an open and then they have a close to them. Where's my close of my div? Right here. An image doesn't. An image closes itself. It's a self-closing tag. It has a little slash and then a close. It's closing itself. We have image pickle rick.png, close the tag. If we run that, we're just going to see that giant image. That giant image is going to be, I guess, kind of moved down a little bit off the button. Refresh this, there's the giant image, okay. Maybe that image is a bit too big, so I'm going to specify a size in my CSS. So I want this to be hidden when it starts. We have this div called image div, and I want that to be hidden. And we also have the pickle image. I'm going to copy that, go into my CSS, paste all that. We have the image div, hashtag image div, open brackets, close the bracket. The image div, I'm going to give it a width. Let's make it 300 pixels wide. Notice I'm not giving it a height. By giving it just a width, the height is automatically proportional. It calculates how wide to make it. We want this to be invisible to start. Display. Display is none. It doesn't display. Our pickle image, hashtag pickle image. Then I could say how big I want that to be. By putting the width here doesn't really help us. That will help for our image. The width of our image is 300 pixels. We're telling it not to display. If I run that, once I refresh it, this will disappear. If we click on this, we want it to appear. Inside our JavaScript, we're going to tell that instead of the display displaying none, it's going to display a block, which means we're going to be able to see the div. In the JavaScript, we're going to go document dot get element by ID, and we're looking for our div, which is hidden, image div. Image div dot style dot display is equal to, we want it to show up, we want it to be blocked. Refresh, we don't see anything, click on the button, there's our image. I also told it to be 300 pixels wide. We want it to play a sound. Let's look at those sounds. Here's my sounds folder. So in my sounds folder, I have all kinds of, I'm gonna make a sounds folder in here. Inside my sounds, I'm going to copy the pickle. Copy. There we are. So it's just pickle MP3. Inside our JavaScript, I'm going to make global variable var is going to be my sound, or a pickle sound is equal to new audio. Pickle sound.source is equal to slash. I'm going to have it play that sound. So it's going to go pickle sound dot play. We run that, refresh, no pickle. Plays the sound. When the sound is over, I want it to make the picture go away. To do that, we're going to use something called an event listener. I'm going to add an event listener to our sound. We're going to do something very similar. I'm just going to take my pickle sound dot add event listener. We're looking for when it's done, and we want it to go to, is done supposed to be in quotes, or is we want to go to something called sound over? And it's not done, it's ended. I'm not sure if this is correct. I could look it up easily enough. So function sound over. Right. When the sound is over, I'm just going to say that the sound is over for now. Just keep it simple, one step at a time. All right, in sound over. Okay, save that. I got this backwards, so it should have quotes around the ended and not quotes around sound over. Save that back into our Chrome. Refresh. Click on the button. When the sound finished playing, then it wrote in sound over. So it worked. Now what I want it to do is make that image disappear. I'm going to copy this code up here for the block. And what am I going to change the word block to? Display is none. So we want to change our display to none in the JavaScript. We just have to change block to none. Refresh. We click on the button. And that's it. Okay, that's the program. You have a button, you click on it,